Welcome to the Automotive Architect Sales Podcast. I am your host, Ron Garverick. Thank you for joining me this morning, this afternoon, this evening, whatever time you are listening to the show. Thank you. Now, this show is brought to you by the Automotive Architect Sales Podcast show is brought to you by exclusively by Dealer Elite. Dealer Elite was originally founded in March of 2010. The original vision of the founding members who created the site has to create a small network of elite automotive leaders to share the best practices with one another. The founding members then invited some of the best and brightest people in the industry to share their knowledge with one another. The goal to advance the automotive industry through collaborative effort. This elite group of founding members pushed the site beyond the original vision by inviting friends, colleagues, and clients to join and share their ideas as well. Dealer Elite has since become the fastest growing automotive social site in the world. The members' unique purpose is to bring automotive professionals together, believing that together the industry can rise. So we want to thank our exclusive sponsor of the Automotive Architect Sales Podcast, Dealer Elite. Also sponsoring the Automotive Architect Sales Podcast is Street Volkswagen of Amarillo. If you're looking for the new ID4 crossover SUV, all electric, talk to Street Volkswagen of Amarillo today. And also sponsoring the show is Automotive. For all your BDC, finance, sales, or management training, go to www.garvautomotive.com. And I got a special guest this morning. He's all the way from Corpus Christi, Texas. And now, if anybody doesn't know where Corpus Christi, Texas is, it is in the beautiful area down south near I'd say between South Padre Island and Houston, beautiful area there. This gentleman is breaking barriers in the automotive industry. He is a GSM at Mike Shaw Automotive. He's also the host of the Sales Tower Talk on Thursdays on Clubhouse. He's a moderator for the Million Car Salesman Group. He's a Clubhouse contributor. Leader of the People, Automotive Leader, 20 Group Speaker, carving out the place in the world, future sales and management coach. He's a high-level GSM in the automotive space with a proven background in turning sales departments around and maximizing gross and volume at the same time. He led the nation with groups such as Lithia in PVR in gross and year-over-year growth. So it is an honor to have him on the show. When he said, hey, I want to be part of this, I had to make him the number one guest on the all-new Automotive Architect Sales Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce to you Roy Davila. Hey, bud.
Hey, brother. Thanks for having me on, man. It's an honor to be a part. When I saw you were doing this, man, I knew I had to be a part of it. So I've been watching you for a while, following for a while, and I'm happy to help and join and support however I can. Thanks for the kind words, brother.
Well, we've been crossing paths every now and then with through the Millionaire Car Salesman group on Facebook, and yourself and myself. We actually got interviewed by Sean B. Bradley. So, a great guy, very smart in his line of work. You and myself actually spoke at two different Internet Sales 20 Group conferences. I did the one in Philadelphia. You did the one in Dallas, right?
I did Nashville and I did Houston.
Oh, okay. Nashville and Houston. And, people like us, it's not normal in what we do in the business, going, hey, we want to share the word. We want to help people, because most people in the car business, they just want to help themselves. They only care about themselves. And before we get on into the show, the people want to know a little bit about you. So tell the people listening and the millions and millions, pulling the rock there, and millions of people watching a little bit about yourself.
Man, I'm 31 years old. I'll be 32 this year. I got started in the car business when I was 19. I started very young, and I came up at a store, actually with the store that I'm at right now with Mike Shaw. It was a very aggressive group at the time. Before the general manager that hired me took it over, they were selling about, maybe 100 new and used cars. And at the peak of our heyday at our sister store, our Toyota store, we were selling 400 cars in a small area in between three cornfields. We were a destination dealership. This was back in about 2011, 2012. Internet was really starting to take off. Facebook Marketplace wasn't really a big thing. We were really pioneers in that area. Previous to the car business, I was a knucklehead, man. Very, very similar to Sean B. Bradley. I had a checkered past. Definitely didn't grow up with a silver spoon in my mouth, but this industry gave me an opportunity to kind of pave a different path, and make a name for myself. One, it changed my life. It helped me support my family. But when I got to know different people like Sean, it kind of opened my eyes to the what's out there for us. If you can be a leader of people, if you can do, like you said, share the wealth and the knowledge that you have, and be an open canvas, an open book, and help the next guy out, it can be very rewarding for you, not only financially, but I think legacy wise, and I think people like yourself, people like myself, I know for sure people like Sean Bradley are in it more than just for the monetary gain. It's more the legacy. What are you going to leave behind? And I love the fact that, my life started out a certain way, but that's not the way it's ending. I think I've gone a completely different direction than the people I grew up with, and I have this industry to thank for it. I'm very thankful for what it's provided for me and my family. And now my goal is to help the next guy out, right? Even if it doesn't mean it might not give me an extra dollar. But if I can help somebody change their life, give somebody else an opportunity, or help them better themselves, man, I think I won.
Now, how long have you been in the car business?
I've been in the business going on 11 years now.
And what manufacturer did you start out with?
So I started with Mike Shaw. I started with Toyota. I was actually a salesman for Toyota. I sold cars for a little less than a year, about 11 months. And then I got my first job as a floor manager of this store that I'm currently at right now. They were considering selling it. It was an underperforming store, underachieving store. And we were able to break every record the store had. And I worked my way up from floor manager to used car manager to new car director, and kind of built my way through there. I was very much a student of the game. I sat down with guys that had been doing it a lot longer than me and just kind of studied. I asked questions here and there, but I didn't interject. I just studied. I wanted to know, what they were doing, what they were thinking. I want to know the process behind it. And one of the things that's helped me and I've really stuck to is that, your process and your people really make a difference, right? You got to know, if you got everybody rowing the same direction, you're going to have customers that kind of throw you off course. But if the game plan's there, it helps you redirect a lot easier. Excuse me, sorry. It helps you redirect a lot easier, So I started with the Toyota store, came over here, built my base up a little bit, and then like a lot of people in the car business, I spent about 6.5 years with this organization between both stores, managing the Kia store, managing the Toyota store, bouncing back and forth as they needed me, a company guy. And then I felt, I got an offer for a lot of more money, and I felt like it was time for me to fly the coop. And I've done so. I've been a part of Ford. I've worked for a gentleman in Kingsville, Texas, and helped him get his Ford store back up. He ended up selling it. I've worked for Dodge, especially with Lithia. I've been a part of Nissan. I've had experience in a lot of different manufacturers, and the one thing stays the same: if you've got a good process and you got good people, it doesn't matter what you're selling.
Exactly. And you surround yourself around good people, and a lot of things will change for the good. And it all starts from the top, the leadership, the influencers, all the way to the bottom. And, I found myself when I got into the car business, um, I was the same way. I wanted to learn everything from selling cars, knowing what to say to the customers, how to overcome objections, then and being the number one salesman. And after that, I was like, okay, that was already a challenge. I already conquered it. Now I want to be a manager. Well, where we were selling cars, there was no room for a general sales manager. So I had the GM teaching me everything that I needed to learn to be a manager. And then, I took his job. So, and then gradually, growing, I was at a Ford store, and then I was asked to go to a Volkswagen store. And this was all during the whole Dieselgate issue. And people were like, why are you going to go to a Volkswagen store? They're going to go out of business. The government's going to rip their heads off, take all their money, and they're going to go bankrupt. But it was the culture that I was around from where this Ford store, the GM, or not the GM, but the owner and the regional manager, they didn't care about their people. And at this dealership, at the Volkswagen dealership, the GM was all about his people. He would feed them before he would feed himself. And I was like, that's what I want to be about. I want to feed my people before I eat. And so, a little bit of where Automotive and the automotive architect that comes from is through John Luciano. And, he's been doing this for over 42 years, went from porter to detailer to salesman, manager to GM, now owner. And, he's owned several dealerships in his life, but it's his thought process that says he wants to drive something bigger than himself. And if he could do that with the customers and make them feel comfortable, make them feel like they're part of the family, then that's what he does. And that's what each and every one of us managers and salespeople do. We drive something bigger than ourselves. And that's why we're so successful in the dealership, is because of his method. So Garv Automotive and the automotive architect and the manager TO comes directly from John Luciano because of his leadership and everything he does. So, I have to give him props every time I have the opportunity, because I wouldn't be where I am today if it wasn't for this man. So,
well, it's learning those deals, and then I think what makes that mentor-mentoree relationship even better is when you take it to the next level, right? They give you a good foundation to work off of, and then you then turn that into something bigger and better, and I think that's huge. That's important. I've always, when I took this job on right now, and I spoke with my general manager, and when he interviewed me and recruited me and brought me this way, I think he was a little shocked almost, or surprised, when I had, not only did I have guys that worked with me at my previous dealership that wanted to come with me, but I had people in the automotive industry here in Corpus that had never worked with me, but were wanting the opportunity to. They heard that, hey, if I'm going to take my career to the next level and do something big, I want to be with, this is the guy I want to be with. This is who I want to surround myself with. So we interviewed about 3 or 4 people that I had no previous work experience with, but were wanting to come and join what we were building here just for the opportunity to work with me. And I think, to me, that is way more important than any paycheck that I've gotten this far. That's more rewarding than the biggest payout that I'll get, in my lifetime, is the reputation to help people better themselves. And these are guys that were doing really good at their store. They just wanted to take their game to the next level. And it's one of those deals where it was like, one of them quoted and said, hey, I want to see if I'm the real deal. I know I can kick butt at my store, but I want to see what I can do with you, and that foundation is what was built and instilled in me from my first tour here with Mike Shaw. Mike Shaw's been in the business for a long time. The guy was, Time Dealer of the Year back in 2012. He puts back into the community. One of the things that I loved when I first sold cars for him, in our meeting room, it said, attitudes are contagious. It's yours worth catching, that I think that's something I still say to this day. If You can't be happy and you can't be sad at the same time. So if you're upset and you think you're going to be able to put on a show and go treat my customer well, the human body is incapable of doing those two emotions, right? So you check yourself, you make sure you have a good mindset. And I think with what you're talking about and what we do here, what we've been able to do, I've done it with Lithia, I'm doing it here now, is out experience our competition, and it's something where price becomes, it takes a back seat because the experience is going to be first class. I'm going to treat you better than any other store out here is. And when that happens, when value exceeds price, we get happy customers, you get a happy dealer, you break records, but it's all in the expectation that you're setting and the follow through with it. You can't just say, I'm going to treat you well and then, ignore your customer. You've got to be able to set that expectation, set the table, they pay for it, and then we follow up and we follow through.
And I think that's where we as a industry get stuck on and you said it yourself, sell value and not price.
Yeah.
Give them the experience. They don't care how much it's going to cost. As long as they feel good, as long as you treat them well, as long as they know they can come through the door and they can trust you and they believe in you, then price, just like you said, sits in the back seat, because on top of experience and value, they're gonna buy no matter what the price is.
Exactly. And for so long, I think people were in a race to the bottom to be the cheapest, to be the best price, to be the most aggressively priced. At the end of the day, a lot of these stores are adopting a one price method. We do something kind of similar to it, but it doesn't have, we're in the running, right? If we check in a 200-mile radius, I'm going to make sure I have, if there's a sample size of 20 cars, I'm going to make sure I'm in the top 5, right? But I don't necessarily need to be the cheapest one. I know that there are certain things that, there's value proposition packages that come with my store. There's the service that we're going to provide. You're going to meet every manager that's in my store. We're going to get up, get involved. You're going to see the wizard behind the desk, right? And we're going to set the expectation. We're just going to out experience our competition. I believe people pay for convenience. It's easy. Come buy a car from us. One of the things that we've been kicking around and doing, and I was talking with Tim Cox of Car Now a little bit about, is digital retailing tools. They're huge right now, right? Especially with the pandemic and what happened. People realize you can buy a car from the comfort of your home. But in my mind, that's a convenience thing, right? Amazon Prime charges you extra to go with the Prime instead of just the base subscription. I believe we can ask the same thing of these digital retailing tools. You can position yourself and say, hey, Mr. Customer, you don't want to spend 4 or 5 hours in my dealership? I'll guarantee I get you out of here in less than 60 minutes. We're going to put you in the express checkout. It's going to cost you a little bit more than it normally would, but we're going to value your time. We're going to make sure you're in and out of here. We're going to take care of the majority of the legwork before you get here, and you're gone within 60 minutes. And I think if you do something like that, you can provide an excellent experience to back it up, and then your follow-up is, untouchable. You can ask that extra money, and your customers are going to have you're not going to have upset people. You're going to have people that are actually happy because it's a convenience factor, right?
Absolutely. This podcast is brought to you by Dealer Elite. Dealer Elite is a prime exclusive sponsor of the Automotive Architect Sales Podcast, as well as Street Volkswagen. Street Volkswagen has the new ID4. It's going to electrify America, so don't forget. If you want an ID4, check out Street Volkswagen today. And Garv Automotive, finance, sales, BDC, and management training. Check it out today. So now let's get to the bells and whistles. We're talking about our salespeople giving the great experience, the managers giving great experiences, but are they working for themselves or are they working for the dealership? So the question is, should salespeople have that ownership thinking in the car business? Like, no matter what, this is their business and they need to run it accordingly. What are your thoughts?
I agree with that 110%. I believe this is the era of the independent salesperson. With how strong social media is and how easy it is to build a presence online, I believe instead of having 15 people staffed that are preaching just your dealership, if you had 15 people that were managing their own independent businesses, right? They had their own Facebook profiles, they had their own little catchphrases, taglines, whatever it is. inside your dealership, and those 15 people were running their own business, asking for reviews, posting it on there, running pages like Build a Brand, all the point of sale material they could make there. I believe that your customer service goes through the roof, the experience your customer has goes through the roof, and the accountability factor, that's those people's independent business. They're going to take care of that much more than they would say just if they thought it was Mike Shaw Kia. But if I have, John Smith at Mike Shaw Kia, and he runs his page independently and he treats it like his own independent business, he's going to cater to that because that's his name, right? And I think as dealers, we don't need to be, I think a lot in previous years, we were worried about our client base, right? We were worried about people taking clients with them, or if you treat your salespeople right, if you pay them well, they're not going to go anywhere. So let them build those books of business. Let them be proud of who they are and where they work. Treat them the right way, and you'll notice. I mean, your CSI is going to go through the roof. I believe your gross profit is going to go through the roof because a happy customer pays more, and your retention is going to go through the roof because you support your salespeople. That word gets around more than anything. Hey, these guys at ABC Motors, they support their people. They help them build their brand, right? Instead of fighting it. So I believe definitely sales professionals, whoever it is in the dealership, ownership thinking is something that's going to help you get to the next level. And if you're not doing it and you're not promoting it, somebody's going to take over your store that is. And I think that's what we're seeing a lot of right now. A lot of independents that don't have this forward thinking are getting bought out in these tough times by your Lithias, your Auto Nations. Embrace it, empower your people.
Well, what I believe with ownership thinking is you got to think like an owner. I'm a salesman. I got to mind my own business, MINE, mind my own business, on top of minding my own business and not worrying about what everybody else is doing, not sitting in little circle jerks, not complaining because we've got a house mouse over here. We're thinking like an owner. Okay, this is what I got to do today to make a paycheck, to be one step closer to my financial freedom, have a financial plan, not a monthly budget. But on top of that, have a positive mindset. If you consider this your business, you're going to have a positive mindset. Every morning, you're going to motivate yourself. You're going to hold yourself accountable a lot more than you did before. You're dedicated in everything that you do. You make no excuses. You have goals and you have a plan of where you're going to go in the next 5-10 years. You have a skilled mindset. So you read a book, you watch a video, you go to one of these conferences, you find a mentor like Sean B. Bradley or Damian Boudreaux or Jonathan Dawson, and you focus on getting better and building your business. So ownership thinking is more important than ever. Yes, the dealership gives you the inventory. They give you the office supplies. They give you all the utilities. They pay for all that. All you are asked to do is run your business, build a relationship, build a rapport with your customers so they keep coming back to you, not Johnny, not Sam, not Larry, but you. Every time if you follow up with your customers and see how they're doing, see how the soccer game went with little Jimmy, see how the dance recital went with little Becky, and you focus on what you need to do, building this relationship like they're your family members, sending them cards, sending them emails, happy birthday, happy anniversary, or Merry Christmas. These people, they have feelings. They're not just a number. And that's why I tell folks, you can go to Dallas, you can go to Houston and buy a car, but you're not going to be considered family. Here at Street Volkswagen, we are family. We treat you like family. When you're sitting in the showroom, how many times have you been asked, would you like a cup of coffee? Would you like a soda? Would you like a bottle of water? How many times on a Saturday have you been asked, hey, are you hungry? We got lunch brought in today. Let me go feed you. Come follow me. Get yourself a piece of pizza. Get yourself a Wendy's hamburger. That's making people feel that they're important. They're not just a number. And that is ownership thinking. When you get a phone call from a customer and they say they're interested in a car and they're going to come in and look at it, do you say, hey, I'm going to give you that VIP experience when you come in? I want to have a drink ready for you. Would you like coffee? Would you like a Coke? Or, are you an iced tea drinker? Let me be there for you and take care of you, because I want to make this process as smooth and easy as possible. But the only way we're going to do it is if we work together and find you the right car for the right payment and make you feel that you got a great deal and you know that I care about you. So that is ownership thinking right there. That is how you take care of your customers. Next question. How important should salespeople and managers be training? Should they always be training?
Always, always. Training is something that helps you retain the knowledge that you have, right? And it helps keep everybody at the same level. So one of the things that I do every morning, and it's something that I've done for years, and it's a little old school, but I think it keeps us fresh. We've got the objection ball, right? It's an old volleyball, a bunch of objections written on it. Toss it around, practice the objections. But I treat it.
Camp's ball, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yep.
Yep. And you catch it and it has an objection. You read the objection off of it. Everybody goes around and gives a rebuttal. But I treat it just like professional sports, you know. LeBron James doesn't just go out there and start dropping 30 points. He's got to warm up before the game, right? He's got to do some stretches. They run a little bit. They shoot around. It's the same thing with sales professionals. When you get them in the door, we should freshen up. We should do our mental stretches. We should start working on rebuttals and things like that. That way, when they go face to face with your first customer, they're not doing their preparation. Then they're ready to go. They're solid. They're in game mode, and they're firing on all cylinders. And I think once we started implementing that a few years ago, we saw a major change. But not only with the sales pros, with your managers as well, right? We need to lead by example, and I'm a huge lead by example kind of guy. I'm not going to ask you to do anything I wouldn't do. If I say we're going to have a lot party, I'm going to be out there moving cars with you, right? If I say we're going to price up cars, I'm going to be hanging hang tags. Anything I ask you to do, heck, I'm out here picking up trash and leading by example. So why would we expect our sales professionals to train if we're not training? We have to keep ourselves sharp, right? So, I mean, get involved with it, whether it's training platforms you have, if you're doing Bradley On Demand, if you're doing any of these video on demand training systems, know what your salespeople are getting into. You complete the training as well, right? That way you can hold them accountable to it. If you have no idea what the modules are about, how are you gonna hold people accountable? They can BS their way through it, right? You've got to know it just as well as they do. And if they see you do it with the plethora of things you have on your plate, it also leaves there's no excuse for them not getting it done in their day-to-day line of work, right? Real quick, a little off topic, Ron, but one of the things that I've done at every store that I've been at that's really helped implement, and it dives into the training and accountability factor. I break down into what we call quarter times. So 4 times a day, I'm checking in with my guys, and they know it's coming like clockwork. 11, 2, 5, and 8. We're going to check in, and we're going to track phone calls. We're going to track appointments, and then we're going to track the training too. Have you done any modules today? We hold you responsible or accountable for doing a few modules. We're going to figure out if it's later in the day and you haven't done one module, you haven't had any ups, and you've only done like 15 calls. We're not going to have like an ass chewing session, but we're going to have a hey, what are we doing with our day? And maybe we need to work on time management a little bit more, right? And I don't think it's micromanagement. I don't think it's babysitting. I think it's just keeping it in front of them, right? Our general managers and owners would do the same thing for us. If they thought we were slipping as far as PVR, they would do a deal audit with us, right? And figure out, hey, did you hold on the trade? How'd your pencil go out? So on and so forth. I think we need to do the same thing with our sales staff. It takes 21 days to develop a habit. And if you can stay on top of these quarter times and do it for 30 days consistently, not when I have the chance or when I have the opportunity or we got busy, I mean, hold to it. You'll be surprised the impact it can make on your floor. It becomes just another habit. They're making the calls, they're doing the appointments, they're doing their training, and you're not having to ask or hound for it anymore. It's just part of your culture. And when you bring new people on board, they assimilate to that because everybody's moving and it's a well-oiled machine.
Well, how well do you think that maybe not at your store or my store, but you have managers that think they're better than that. They don't need to even worry about training. And so the salesman look at them like, hey, I'm not going to do training if they're not going to do training. And it just messes up the whole culture. And, I've seen some stores, I've talked to some people that they have their salesmen, they'll turn on the modules and then the salesman walk away because there's no accountability to show that they watched the video and answered the questions. Some modules don't have questions, but you don't get to see the back end tool and see exactly where those individuals are. And
If they were engaged.
well, and personally, I think that when it comes to doing the training, is if you're not training and mastering your skill, there's so much stuff that's out there right now that we're changing. So you need to, what you said last year may not be what you need to be saying this year, because especially now, because everybody gets pee hurt if you say the wrong thing,
Yep.
and the society, you say the wrong thing and now you got a lawsuit on your hands, or you lose a customer for life. And I think where we are, where everybody gets a trophy, and I went off subject for a minute, but where everybody gets a trophy for, oh, great job, you won one game out of 15, here's a trophy, or oh wow, you watched one video and now you think you're a master closer. Keep practice. I mean, dude, I don't know about you, but this is all I do.
Oh yeah. So my time at the dealership is spent, a lot of it's coaching and mentoring. I make that a big part of my game. So one, like I said, I want to benefit my sales pros, but two, I want to keep myself sharp and my skill sharp, right? Everybody that's at a high level believes that they're a high level player in this game, whether it's a closer, whether it's getting deals bought, as a finance director, getting deals hung, whatever the case is, you believe that you're the best at something, if not all of them. And the only way to stay that way is to keep your skills sharp, right? And then two, like I said, speed of the leader, speed of the pack. I'm going to make sure that the culture of my store, I want it to be a certain thing, and I want to be a reflection of that. It's not fair for me to expect my sales pros to act a certain way or do something and me not replicate that. I think a lot of managers right now live by a principle of, they judge others on their actions, but they judge themselves on their intentions, right? Like, I want to be great and I want to teach these guys these things, but I don't have the time, but I'm going to make them do it. If they don't, I'm upset, or they're in trouble, or there's this or that. I can't get mad at somebody for something I haven't installed in them and I haven't taught them how to do, right? I took over this store last month, and we had a mystery shop happen. They mystery shopped our calls. And I sat there with my internet manager and we listened through, and they weren't horrible, but they weren't great, right? And the immediate reaction, you do things intentionally. I asked my internet manager, what do you think? And he's like, man, that's bad. We need to talk to him. I said, so how do you want to talk to him? He goes, well, maybe we counsel him a little bit. I said, well, before we do that, let me ask you a question. What have you done to prepare them for that? What kind of training have you given them to bet? Do you expect more out of them just because, or have you taught them something and they're not implementing it? I said, because that tells us how we need to speak to these guys. And he goes, well, we really haven't done much training on it. I said, okay, so maybe we hold off on counseling them. Maybe we bring it to their attention and then we provide massive action. We just train on this like crazy so that we can get better. And then once we've trained on a daily basis, we've given them the tools. If they continue to have problems, then it's an aptitude thing or an attitude thing, not really an aptitude thing, right? But we're not there yet. So we need to make sure we're giving them the tools before we go in there and start, chewing necks or holding them accountable to the nth degree. Let's make sure we've taught them first.
And I totally agree. If a manager gets onto a salesperson for something that is not being done right, but the manager's not doing it themselves, they have no room to talk. It's like calling the kettle black. And so I always feel that if one of my team members does not do something correctly, I reflect back in, did I coach them? Did I teach them? Did I train them on this certain thing that needs to be done correctly? And if I didn't, then it's my fault. I take the full blame. I will man up and say, there's no reason we should be getting onto that salesperson because he was not properly trained yet.
Yeah, that's on me.
It's on me. Also, with salespeople, you get those ones that get down and they're like, man, this is just terrible. I can't sell a car. My life depends on it. I've done everything. I've talked to them. I've asked the right questions. this may not be for me. And I've had 2 occasions in the last 6 months where salesmen came to me and said, I'm giving it 2 more months, and if I don't make any money, I'm quitting. And so I sit them down and we write out what they want to accomplish. And one said, "Hey, this was in October." He goes, "I got November and December. If I can't make a paycheck and sell enough cars so I can make a living and take care of my son, I'm out. I'm quitting." So I gave him a path to sell a lot of cars and make money. And I told him, I said, the problem is you're doubting yourself, and that's what's getting in your way. The other one, he was like, "Man, I could go do an hourly job selling manufacturer homes and have a salary and make more money." I said, "Your issue is you're getting in your own way. Mindset thinks, I can't do this. I can't sell cars." And the funny thing is, after reminding him every single day, you're getting in your own way. You're getting in your own way. You got to get out of your way. Right now, setting at 10 cars, he's made 15 grand. And he got out of his own way. Last month, he sold 25 cars. The months before, he sold 10. He sold 25 cars last month. He's on pace this month to sell 28. The other individual, he's making 8 grand consistently a month since November. And it's just sitting down and walking. And they're not on my team. These guys are not on my team, but they come to me because they know I'm the automotive architect. And I built them to where they need to be, gave them to the tools to build their own business. And now these 2 salesmen are on top of the world of selling cars. There's no doubt in their mind. Every close that I've taught them, every objection that I'm teaching them, they're saying it and they're accomplishing it and they're mastering it and they're closing more deals because they got out of their own way. So if they failed, I take the blame.
It's us. Yeah.
It's us. And they tell me, "Ron, you're the only one that really cares." I said, because I was in that seat. Mm-hmm. I didn't have a manager that coached me. I didn't have a influencer. I was told, there's a lot, that's a computer, that's a CRM, good luck. Cars.
Yep.
And I got so frustrated because the only day I could sell cars was on a Saturday. I was so frustrated. I went home and I told my wife, I said, "I don't even think I can do this. I can't sell and get a customer to buy in to me." And she goes, "Well, you better learn because rent's due next week." And I sat in my bed, turned on YouTube, type in how to sell cars in the car dealership. And Mr. Jim Ziegler's video popped up. It was 48 minutes, 46 seconds on how to sell cars. And after that, there was Sean D. Bradley, Corey Mosley, Grant Cardone, Steve Richards, Damian Boudreaux, all these videos. And I'm like, I'm getting this shit for free.
Oh, yeah.
This is amazing. And then it was like, boom, I'm the #1 salesman out of 500 in the group. And I was going to sales banquets and people were asking me, "How are you selling so many cars? How are you doing it in little old Dumas, Texas? Who taught you? Who's your mentor?" I said, "I have thousands of them and they're all on YouTube."
Yep.
And now I have a personal relationship with each and every one of these guys. They are my mentors. They are my friends. These are guys that I can call and go, "I'm stuck. I'm stuck in training these people. I don't know where else to go." And they would sit me down and say, "You got 5 minutes to talk on the phone?" And boom, I call them, we talk, and then I implement it with my people.
But what you'll notice with people like everybody you just named, it's not in their best interest to teach other trainers how to do what they do, but they're not in it for that. They're in it for the impact. They'll be the first ones to pick up the phone. I've got a great relationship with Sean Bradley, and I'll be the first to tell you, and he'll tell you, I haven't spent $1 with him. The guy saw something in me and has mentored me to a point to where I owe a lot of my success to him and the network that we've built together. And to go back to the question about the training with your sales pros and your managers, one thing I love about it is that when you train in your store, when your managers train, when you train, your salespeople train, the GSM train, everybody's doing the training, it's going to weed out the ones that are too lazy or don't want to do it. And it's going to do it in a non-confrontational way. And what you'll figure out is it'll attract true professionals too, because that kind of thing gets around, right? The auto industry knows you have a reputation. Is your store somewhere where, you know, it's a little tough to survive, or is your store somewhere where people flourish and they train on a daily basis? I've heard salespeople talk about it and be like, hey, I'm thinking about going to this place. And one of the key, you know, factors is they do daily training. You know, they actually teach their guys what to do. They perfect their craft. And I want those kinds of people around me. And if they're willing to be around me, I'm willing to, you know, you give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. You teach a man to fish, you feed him for a lifetime, right? And that's that. I mean, that's it right there, right? Currently, I can't say too much, but I'm working with Sean on something to help managers train, to train managers to be a little more accountable and how to run profitable departments. It's funny with Lithia, $1 billion dealer group, you know, there's still opportunities on the table. No matter how big the dealership, no matter how big the group, it's amazing how many managers right now are getting by, just getting by. They're not holding people accountable. They're not doing the training. They're not training themselves. You know, it amazes me that you can walk into a showroom and if you've got 12 salespeople, they work car deals 12 different ways. If you've got 3 guys on the desk, they'll work car deals 3 different ways. No, you need to have process. You need to have uniform. You need to take the variable out of the variable where you can, right? And training is the number one way to do it. Figure out what your process is, how many steps you're going to have. Make sure everybody from the porter to your GM knows what that is. Train on it until it's drilled into your head. And you're going to have those onesies and twosies that take you off the roadmap, but at least you have a good map to fall back on, right? Everybody, you know, you get those sales pros that like to say, well, not every customer is like that. I got this customer, I got that customer. Well, and I understand that it's going to happen. But if you have a good foundation, you'll know in that car deal when you can go back to your process. An opportunity will open up. And if you don't have that background or you don't have that foundation, you're going to, I mean, think about it. We do this on a daily basis. Even your best credit customer who buys a ton of cars does it every few years, right? I think our experience trumps that if we can present it that way. An inexperienced salesperson is going to have a hard time dealing with somebody who knows how to buy cars. But if you know what you're doing, you have stone cold confidence in your ability to do it because you've trained on a daily basis. You feel like you have a great support system around you. You're going to be able to go toe to toe with the toughest buyer and earn their business and do it profitably.
One thing that bothers me about managers is they'll bring in trainers to do training for the salesman, but not one will attend a training session. So you can bring a trainer in, train the salesman, but if the managers are not bought in, if they're not going to implement what's being trained, then that GM, that dealer principal just wasted money.
Money, yep.
And I'm right there with you. And you and I have talked outside of this podcast on managers being trained. And I'm right there with you 100%. There's nothing more that pisses me off is when a manager goes, you got training, it's mandatory, you need to be in there. We got a special guest coming in, and then they won't show up.
Yep.
And that's a little bit of what I experienced at first when I started training these salespeople, because the managers were not confident enough to let the salesmen close their own deals. Like going, hey, hold $1,000 on the trade. Hey, don't go ahead and sell it for the internet price because they didn't see it on the internet. And hey, don't add back in or something like that. Put a gap, put warranty in. And they're like, no. And then they get all mad and go, man, we're doing exactly what you're telling us to do, Ron, but the managers won't give in. They don't. And I said, because they don't trust you. They don't think that you can do it. And now I have to start coaching the managers and going, listen.
Well, if a dealer brings you in to set up a process and to work a certain way, and the manager's not on that same page, I mean, it's mixed signals. You're right. You're absolutely right. You're just throwing money away because the right hand's not talking to the left, right? The manager's thinking something, and then even worse, an inexperienced or unconfident manager is going to think that a salesperson is being confrontational.
They think, don't work me, work your customer. And it's like, I'm working you to better the store. Okay.
Exactly.
If
you had been in the training, you would know where we're going.
Exactly. So many times they're like, well, this is what we learned in training. And then they go off and tell the GM, well, Ron, we don't know what Ron's training. He goes, well, have you been in one of Ron's training classes? Well, no, then don't come to me. Maybe you need to go to his training classes. And it's like, I'm doing it for the store. And I love it when I have an opportunity to work the desk is I'll pencil a deal stronger than a garlic milkshake. Salesman will go out there, close the customer, and they'll come back in. And all of a sudden, boom. How does that happen? I'm like, because they believe in how I'm penciling. And they're like, oh, okay. Oh, how are you penciling it that way, Ron? And it's funny. I'm like, if you come to my classes, you would already know. So let's go on to the next one. Well, no, let's take a break real quick, and we'll be back in 30 seconds, and we'll go on with the next question.
He has proven methods that really work. If you want to make more money, take these classes. He's intense, truthful, and he knows what he's doing. Check him out.
Ron Garverick, man, where to start with this guy? I've had the pleasure of working under him for the past 4 years. He's my manager up at Street Volkswagen, and it's just been an amazing experience. I came in as a green pea with no experience, and he's went over and taught me.
Sales coach and motivational speaker Ron Garverick has made the journey from poverty to wealth in his own life, and his passion is to help you in your success journey as well. His methods are proven because he lives them daily, and you can too. Introducing Ron Garverick.
Back. A little hiccup there, but that'll be okay. It's nothing that splicing and editing won't take care of there.
Take care, man. I got to get me. You're showing me something here, Ron. I've been thinking about starting a podcast for a good little while, man. I'm very impressed with the way you got this thing running.
Well, it's been a year in the making. And I did a few interviews every now and then when I had the opportunity. But man, when you're looking at the listenership, and just like if you put the top 10 things that you could do with a salesman, and you get all these listenerships, and then you go and just do a bullshit session and watch there's not very many listenerships, and then you have interviews with people and the listenerships go up, and you're like, all right, I'm running out of shit to say. It's time to start interviewing people. So because we're 50 minutes in, and I usually cut off to 27 minutes when I'm just talking by myself because I'm running out of stuff to say, and I'm staring at these four walls. So I'm like, it's time. It's time for the all-new Automotive Architect Sales Podcast, especially when you got people sending you messages going, hey, I want to sponsor your show. I like what you're doing. I like that you're on Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Amazon and all these other platforms. We want to get in. We want to be part of it. And I said, great. Let me find some people to interview. Let me ask around. And so, better yet, when you said, hey, I'm in, I'm like, you know what? This has been waiting for a long time. And it's time to get Roy on the show. I mean, I heard your podcast with Sean B. Bradley. I enjoy listening to his show. I like his Against the Odds. I think he's doing a great job. And, I'm not trying to take anybody's spot away or anything like that. But there's people like you and I that we need to talk to the other people. You get these other people that are already on top and they get interviewed. But what about the people that are in the stores? That is what people have sent me messages on going, You're still in the store, you're still training, you're still making your name known on social media. That's what you need to do. You need to get your Roys, you need to get your James Steels and all these other people and bring them on because they're in the stores. They see it every single day.
Yeah, they know the pulse. We know what's going on. The game, and I think right now, especially, the game's evolving. It's changing in real time. I mean, month to month, we're seeing something different, and I think this is the front lines, man. This is awesome.
And one thing, I may have to invest in an iPad so I can do Clubhouse Live too. I like the little setup that Sean's got, and so I'm like, man, how do I do all that? Maybe I'll do it on my phone. I don't know, but I'll figure it out, and we'll start doing it on Clubhouse also.
Definitely.
Another question, my friend. We'll pop this up if it will let me. Okay. Should dealerships be a volume-based store, growth-based store, or both?
Both. I think gross is a state of mind. I don't think you sacrifice one to get the other. When I was with Lithia, we were breaking records for year-over-year growth. The store in particular that I had only been inception for 2 years. Its first year, it lost $1.2 million. And then when I took it over its second year, we made 1.3. But we broke every record in doing so. We broke volume and gross. And when we had our managers meetings and they asked, hey, because in new cars, we were running close to $5,000 a car. And in used cars, we were running over $3,000 a car. When we had our collective meetings, of course, there were some GMs and GSMs that would say, well, you got to be selective, right? Like you're only taking the good deals. You're letting the bad deals walk. And I said, man, to be honest with you, and my sales guys knew this, I'm going to take that $3,000 loser just as quick as I'm going to take that, $15,000 good deal. I said, but the trick is having a process, working that process 100% of the time. That way, when you win, you win. And it'll afford you to be able to take those smaller deals. And in my opinion, it's all about getting as many of your nameplates out on the road as possible and doing it as profitably as possible, right? You don't have to sacrifice one for the other. That's where it bleeds into what we were just talking about, training. If you train your staff, if you make your people stone cold assassins and they have stone cold confidence in what they're doing, they're going to give a better experience. You're going to capture more car deals, and you're going to do it for a higher dollar amount per car.
Because there's some of those out there that they're trying to put their best foot forward and give the customer a great deal. They don't know what their credit is, but you're giving them a 2.9% when you can give, you can add a little bit of rate in there, or you don't have to give them all the incentives because they don't know what they are. But saying, I'm just going to sell the car so we can get our vehicles out there. If it's Ford, Chevy, Volkswagen, Toyota, I want to see more of our brand out there. So I'm just going to give the car away, and man, you're going to get paid a mini and maybe a stair-step bonus, but you'll get paid. I guarantee if you sell 20 new cars, you're going to get paid $10,000. Well, what if I sell 20 cars and make 20 grand? If I sell 20 new cars and make 20 grand, that's a lot better. So let me work my own pay plan. But there's so many managers out there that don't have the faith because they're not coaching, they're not teaching, and they're not practicing on closing. And then the TOs piss me off more. No customer leaves without a proper manager TO. Hey, boss, can you come and take a TO? Either A, they're going, hey, I'm way too busy. I'm already working 2 car deals here. Or they go out and they'll get up and they'll go out and take a TO. And they're like, so what is it going to take for you to buy this car today?
Yep.
Well, if you take another $1,500 off, we'll consider it. So you're saying, the old school, if I could, would you?
Would you?
If I could take $1,500 off, will you go ahead and buy this car? Yeah. So let me go and see what I can do. Well, you know what happened? $1,500 just came out of the front gross that the salesman gets paid 25, 30% on, and the store gets paid whatever percentage they get. But you just gave away. That is not a manager TO. Taking a TO and saying, what if I take money off? What if I add wheels those glossy black wheels on it? What if I throw tint in? Hey, let us pay 3 of your monthly payments. Will you buy the car today? That is not a manager TO. A manager TO is you justify the value of the car, not the price. And if you didn't justify the value, then A, you didn't train your salesman to do a better presentation on the car to show them why the price is what it is, and you're selling value. I hate when salesmen ask, hey, how much is the 2019 Volkswagen Jetta R-Line? Well, what did you sell? Well, the customer just wants to know the price. Did you not sell the car? So managers, and that's why I believe in the Manager TO podcast, because it helps salespeople learn how to close their own deals. Because you, back again, ownership thinking, you're thinking that this is your business, you close your own deals. Because you know, in fear, if that's a manager that's going to give away your product, give away your commission, you need to hold your own self accountable and close your own deals. So I believe, just like you, that both is important. You can sell the same amount of cars and make more money than doing one or the other, because you can be the highest price store in the world and you may sell a few cars, but then you'll run out of business. You can be the lowest price store, you could sell a lot of cars
and still run out of business.
So there's that happy medium that every dealership needs to be at. And if you do that, then all of a sudden you'll see, if you just tweak it every so gently, you'll see gross and profit by selling the same amount of cars and making the most money. Here's another one that I need to know, man. And I know the answer to one, but you may have more. Who are your role models, people of influence?
Man, so I got to show love. And of course, I got to, name drop Sean V. Bradley. The guy comes from a similar background as me. I've seen his story. I know his story. I followed him for a while, but even more because of how he's empowered me. He really made me believe that it's possible for me to go out there and pave my own way, not only in my dealership, but in the automotive industry and in the automotive space in general. He's somebody that, I'm a high performing manager. I'm a high performing person in the car business where I'm from, but I aspire to be like him. He gives me something to grow and reach for, and also gives me the empowerment to know that I can do it. And then calls me, on it when I need it, tells me when I can work a little harder, tells me, honest opinions of certain things. I'm like I said, I'm 31 years old. I've been doing this for over 10 years. And I've been doing it at a high level for a majority of my career. It's hard to find people that aren't intimidated by that and actually want to put into you, right? In my immediate circles, it's hard to run into people. One of the things that I crave more than anything is growth. I want to sit in a room and I don't want to feel like I am the smartest one or I have the most experience or I believe I'm the best to handle every scenario. I crave to sit in a room with people that I feel like I can grow and I can learn from. And, Mr. Shaw happens to be one of those people. He's been around, been a business owner for a very long time, been very successful. And I aspire to be like him one day, right? So you got Sean Bradley, who's showing me, hey, I can carve my own piece in this automotive space. I got Mr. Shaw, who shows me, a minority can make it out here and own a collection of dealerships and empower people like myself. And then my old man, my dad was 82nd Airborne, blew his knee out, is one of the hardest working men I've ever known. Was disabled for over 10 years, was on disability, and one day woke up and said, "This enough's enough." Went out, hadn't been in the car business in 20 years, and went out and ran a Ford store. He was salesman of the year, floor manager. He did it all within his first 12 months back in the business. So I'm fortunate to have some people around me that push me and that help me, help me believe I can get to where I'm going. I get my work ethic from my father. I always believe I'm the hardest working man in the store. I got guys like Mr. Shaw to aspire to that I have the privilege of working for. And then I've got friends and people in my direct circle of influence like Sean B. Bradley, who let me know it's possible. Anything's possible, right? If you work for it, work hard enough, don't give any excuses, and the world's yours, man. You can make it happen.
I totally believe in, and with Sean B. Bradley, the man's honest, the man's blunt, and he'll tell you how it is. He'll tell you where you're messing up. He'll tell you how you're improving. He's very vocal on that. Some people don't like that. I love it. I want him to tell me what I'm doing wrong. I want him to tell me what I'm doing right. And he's one of the guys that I talk to. Corey Mosley's another one. Corey and Sean are just the same. But Corey used more sophisticated words when making you feel bad when you're doing something wrong. Sean would just tell you blunt how it is. I mean, he's old school. He's just like, "Yo, man, you left up. This is how you're gonna fix it."
Yep.
So you're like, all right. I ask him a lot for his opinion. Another one that I enjoy that's very blunt is Shaka Dyson. Shaka will tell you how it is also. And then you got influencers like Damian Boudreaux. I mean, he doesn't sugarcoat anything, but he says it in a nice way on what you're doing wrong and how you can improve it. But what all of them do is, this is what you're doing wrong, and this is how you can fix it and still be a professional in their own way, in their own words. So hats off to them, man. We plug them throughout the show. And the reason is they are the pioneers. If there was a Mount Rushmore of trainers, they would be on top of it right now because,
Definitely.
You got your Sean B. Bradleys for BDC and internet training. You got your Shaka Dysons for finance. You got your Corey Mosley for business. And you got your Grant Cardone's for closing, your Steve Richards for penciling, your Damian Boudreaux for being in the people business. So they are the marquee when it comes to old school gangsters when it comes to this business.
And any of them, all of them, they're all willing to help the next guy up. That's the beautiful thing.
They don't say, hey, for more information, go to my website and subscribe to my. They're like, hey, man, call me. Call me right now. I'm going to help you out. And you're like, oh, crap, man. Hey, yeah. All right. I was reading your message and it didn't make sense to me. Explain to me exactly what you're trying to say again. And it's like, oh, yeah, this is what's going on. And they're like, okay, that's retarded. Now, this is what I would do. But you're right. They don't want anything from it. They want to help as much as they can and take care of their people. And they want to see everybody else grow and prosper and get to the next
Definitely.
spot. Last but not least, what are your goals and what are you trying to accomplish?
Man, so I want to be a general manager here very soon. I want to do it in the next couple of years. But ultimately, I want to incorporate the training space in respect to sales managers and management. I believe that, like we talked about earlier, the game is changing significantly. And I feel like my time spent in the front lines and being a part of this ever-evolving game, I see a lot of opportunity to go in and make the biggest impact with the managers. I believe that sales pros we've focused on sales pros for so long for those that do training, but I believe that there's a area of opportunity opened up for sales managers and having their own processes and having a game plan and not living on the hope system. And I've just been trying to affect change everywhere that I am enough to build a good name, in being able to successfully turn around these departments and dealerships. So my overall goal is to operate in that space and be on that Mount Rushmore one day. I want to be able to go into a store and affect change positively, not bully sales guys, not bully managers. I want to go in there and actually empower people and show them to unlock their true potential, right? How to change their lives because somebody did it for me.
And there's nothing more that anybody can ask for is to be those kind of people, be that kind of person, to see other people succeed. true leaders lead leaders, not followers. And I don't want anybody to follow me. I want people to become a better leader through my guidance. And I was told one time, not everybody can be like you, Ron. And I said, good, because I don't want them to be like you. I want them to be better than me. And the only way that can happen is if I teach them the right direction to get to the right point in their life, to be able to have that financial freedom. So, man, Roy, it was a pleasure having you on. We could sit here and talk for 2-3 more hours, but I know you're a man at the dealership. You're getting phone calls. You're getting people coming through the door. They're needing your assistance. Man, you've taken time out of your day to be on the Automotive Architect Sales Podcast show. I couldn't be any happier. Ladies and gentlemen, just want to say again that this show is an exclusionary sponsor of Dealer Elite, Street Volkswagen, of Amarillo, and Garv Automotive, BDC Finance, Sales, and Management Training. Next week, we got another special guest coming on. He is from Wichita, Kansas, far, far away from Corpus Christi. He is working at Subaru of Wichita. He's from the same town that I grew up in. A.J. Owens from Subaru of Wichita. Also, don't forget, you can watch these podcasts on Facebook, YouTube. You can listen to it on Apple Podcasts, on iHeartRadio, Pandora, Spotify. You can also listen to it on Amazon and Boxster. So it is great to have all these sponsors and to be on all these platforms and have excellent, awesome guests like Roy and AJ that are on this show. And I couldn't be more happier that we have this opportunity to get you on and finally get you on here to just drop some nuggets and let people know, hey, there's guys out there like you and I that are still in the dealerships that are still wanting to help people and share the wealth outside of our own dealership. And Roy, I lived in Corpus for a while back before 9/11. Man, I walked up and down those streets of Corpus selling watches, children's books, cell phone covers. I mean, I've walked in Leopard Street, Airline Street, and you name it. I was down those streets trying to sell something. Kirby vacuum cleaners. I remember I sold Kirby vacuum cleaners up and down the streets in Corpus Christi, Texas. So it gets muggy. You take a shower, you go outside, you already sweat again.
Yep, that humidity.
That humidity is terrible. But, and it's funny, when I was married, my ex-wife, and she was my wife at the time, she goes, I want to move to Corpus. And I was like, no, I ain't moving to Corpus. I've already lived there. I've already sweat. I think I lost 30 pounds the time I lived there. I said, that's one place I'm not going. So that may be a reason why she left me and married another guy and decided to move to Corpus. So but no, her and I get along, but it's just funny. I laugh at her. I said, well, you didn't like my answer when I said I didn't want to move to Corpus, so you found it sucked to death for you. So, Roy, it's a pleasure having you on, man. I know we will always connect with each other. You're always more than welcome to be on the show again, and I look forward to working with you in the future on anything else that you have going on, because there's a rare breed out of people like you and I, and this is a great opportunity for us to share and take care of each other and be on top of the world. So thank you for being on the show today.
I appreciate you having me, brother. Thank you, man. Anybody, just like Ron, I'm always open to help as much as I can. I'd love to be on again. You let me know when, and you guys follow me on Facebook, join the Clubhouse. I do something every Thursday, Sales Tower Talk Thursday on Clubhouse. So, and my DMs are open. I keep my cell phone number out there pretty regularly. Any help, anything I can do, I'm a man of the people, here to help the people. So I appreciate you, Ron.
And I totally support. Do the clubhouse on Thursdays. And buddy, man, send it on my Automotive Architect site. I'll put it on there. We'll get people to start listening. You got to listen to what he says on Thursdays, ladies and gentlemen, because he has a lot of knowledge when it comes to the sales tower talk. But once again, thank you for listening to the Automotive Architect Sales Podcast. I am your host, Ron Garverick. You can check me out on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and everywhere there's a podcast platform. That's where you'll see me. Thank you again, once again, Roy. We'll talk to you soon.